Hey, I'm back. Between American holidays and work trips, it's taken us a little longer to edit this video. And in the time we've been waiting, as many of you know, our friend Dash, inventor extraordinaire, has achieved living legend status. So big shout out to Alvaro Benito with his win in Spain Nationals to push Dash to over 1,000 living legend points. And huge congrats, it's been a long time coming. And it's cool to see her get there, but as far as us with this deck, it means we can no longer run our Teklo plasma pistol, so we got to pick out a different weapon. For now, I'm going to be testing the Cogworks blunderbuss in that slot. It enables most of the same play lines, and I'm not really changing anything else in the deck at the moment. But if any big changes come out, or I figure something else out with a different weapon, maybe I'll post another video. Let me know if you guys want like a short about it, or just another whole video in the comments. And I just hope everyone had a great national season, and thanks for watching.
Hello again, everyone. It's Dan Flavin again with Righteous Gaming, here with another deck tech. This time, it's for Puffin Hightail. I played this deck in the June Open tournament for the AGE New England Series and was able to reach top 8. So your first question might be, what is AGE? It's a independent tournament series hosted by Arcane Games and Events. And it's designed to have great players meet around the table, play some great games, and bring them to your screen. It's a year-long circuit with a prize pool of around $11,000, 8 open tournaments with $1,000 prize pools, and a championship where the top 16 players will be invited to battle it out for $3,000 and the title of AGE champion. They've been doing this for over a year now, and let me tell you, if you haven't heard about it, you're missing out on great streams, or if you're in New England or Los Angeles, just amazing events and great games. So, moving on to the deck, the first thing I want to talk about is our game plan. So our hero, Puffin Hightail, has 2 lines of text on her hero power. The first one is an action. Tap our hero. We're going to switch a gold token into a golden cog token, which can be used to power up our attacks. And the golden cog token itself does have crank, which powers up the second line of text on our hero power. The second time we crank on our turn, we're going to draw a card. So we're going to play around this second line of text to create massive card advantage. And we're going to use this first line of text to power up the second line. And these cogs are going to add value to our attacks that just turns this hero into a bit of a value monster. So there's really 2 line of thoughts right now. A lot of people are adding in boost attacks, and it's easy to see why. These attacks are all very good, mainstays of the game. 1 for 5, 0 for 4, 2 for 6, go again. All cards that will never be bad. You can put these in your deck. It's always a good time. Stuff like Pulse Wave Harpoon, Maximum Velocity, also just mainstays of the boost list. And then there's the more generic focused list with a little bit more disruption. With Command and Conquer, you got your pirate cards that you can put in, obviously Pummel, stuff like that. So for me, I have decided for a couple of different reasons to go with this more generic focused build, specifically because a lot of the pirate cards are quite strong, and I feel that to include the number of boost cards needed to make Boost Puffin feel strong, you're better off with something like Dash.io most of the time. So starting off, talking about the deck, we'll go over the deck list a little bit, talk about some matchups at the end. We'll start off with our equipment, and our starting point for that is going to be the weapon. There's really 3 weapons that you could think about running in Puffin. First is the Spitfire. It's a 0 cost attack for 2, and if you tap a cog, you can make it 3. Oh, you do have to tap a cog to attack with this, so you have to have a cog to attack for 2. If you have 2 cogs, you can attack for 3. Or the Cogworks Blunderbuss, which is pay 2, attack for 2, but you notably don't need any cogs. But if you do have a cog, you can give it go again. And then there's the whole reliable option. If you've watched my previous videos on this channel, one of my favorite weapons in the game, Teklo Plasma Pistol, which is just pay 1 to add a steam counter, and then at any time when you have an action point, you can then remove that steam counter to attack for 2. So for a couple of different reasons, I've elected to run Teklo Plasma Pistol here. Mainly consistency. And the cost, it cost one less than Cogworks Blunderbuss, so it's pretty much just better, just minus the go again, but that's not a huge deal. And then Spitfire, I don't like the reliance on cogs, as we would like to be most of the time using our cogs for something else in this list. There's a couple other niche interactions with Tekla Plasma Pistol that really put it over the edge, and we'll get to those later in the video. Then moving on to our standard equipment suite, our headpiece in a vast majority of our matchups can be Crown of Dominion, making our hero Royal, and starting us off with 1 gold token. As we said before, our hero power, that gold token can fuel our hero power and start us off making golden cogs, start us off drawing cards, and this is just starts us off with some gas in the tank. Next, for chest piece, Fendel Spring Tunic. Needs some introduction, one of the best chess pieces in the game. As far as for this deck, really Tekla Foundry Heart with no boost cards is kind of just a block 3. And this deck's not designed around blocking too much. It's still definitely an aggressive deck. So we're going to love this one resource. Goes along with Pummel, CNC extremely well. For arms, Cogworks Tinkering. Like I said, we love having cogs. Most other arm pieces for mech are only blocking 1 anyway, so we got 2 block. We're creating a cog. This thing's a shoe-in. It goes in. There's the gold-baited hook option, but without other gold generators in the deck, gold-baited hook is a little bit too risky. You activate it, your opponent blocks out, and there it goes. Stuff like Gravy and Maryland that have success with the card are able to generate a gold token first before activating it, so it gets rid of that downside. Unicycle is going to be our leg piece of choice here. Instant speed, untap a cog, just allows some sneaky plays. And then obviously Battle 1-1 in a leg slot is just nice. Cover up a breakpoint once per game. And we got our feathered friend here, Polycranka. It's a perched companion, so there's no competition for this slot. No other card we could even run here. So no reason to not run it. And their effect to just crank on demand once per turn. Well, once per game easily, and then after that, once per turn. Very powerful effect. Just some interesting notes to watch out for with our feathered friend here. Wizards are able to kill him before you can activate him, just while he's perched. So if like a Cilio goes first, they can just hit him with a shock, take it out. So against wizards, most of the time, you're just going to want to be activating this as soon as possible. Notably, they cannot kill it in response to the activation because the banishment is part of the cost. The only thing that can really get rid of your action point after you activate it is Prism with Halo. They can get the Figment of Judgment, I think it is. Turn it face down in your banish zone. Never enters the arena. Never cranks. Never gets your action point back. Sad time. So watch out for that one. Then moving on to some of our more sideboard equipment. We have AB3 in this deck. Mechs have this great headpiece that just has built-in AB2, which is great for us here with the amount of blues we have. And then Adaptive Dissolver over something like Achilles Accelerator because it lets us choose in a matchup if we'd rather keep our Unicycle or the Cogworks Tinker Rings. Most of the time it is going to be Unicycle, but sometimes we do value this 2 block a little bit higher. And then our last sideboard equipment is this Balance of Justice. A lot of drawing cards going on, and some matchups starting with the gold is actually more of a disadvantage than an advantage, so that's where Balance of Justice comes in. Moving on from equipment, we'll talk about some of our core cards, just the real things that really made me love this deck. The meat and potatoes attacks, the stuff that gets the job done. And the number 1 card, number 1 attack, Cogworks Dovetail. It's a Majestic from High Seas that comes in for 1 cost for 5 attack, blocks 3, and then has an on hit of untapping all cogs that we control. So and then also a thrice per turn instant where we can tap a cog and gain +1 or go again. So for peak damage, you could tap 3 cogs, make this a 1 for 8, or you could tap 3 cogs, make this a 1 for 7, go again. But there's a couple of interesting lines when you present this card to your opponent where it's coming in for 5, and if you have 1 cog, they can block 6, and then you can just give it go again and move on with your turn. Or if they block 5, you can actually pump it up to 6, deal the 1 damage over the top, and then after the on-hit trigger, you can respond by activating this thrice per turn instant for the 3rd time, or 2nd time, depending on how many cogs you had, to actually give it go again in the resolution step, and then give it go again. So you can max out this thrice per turn instant with only 2 cogs on the field. Very powerful effect. Like I said, with 1 cog, you can pump it to 6 hits, give it go again. With 2 cogs, you can pump it to 7 hits, give it go again. And then with 3 cogs, you can just make it 7 go again. So a lot of times, this is just a 1 for 7 with go again. Extremely powerful rate. One of the best cards in the deck. And when you present it against your opponent with a bunch of cogs, they just don't know what to do. As here, this is a screenshot from one of my games at the AG that was streamed. Say I presented this Cogger Subtail, 2 cards still in hand, and what can my opponent do? If they block 7 to try and cover this up, it would either take up their footsteps or take 3 cards, and I could just give it go again, and they're just completely vulnerable to whatever my last attack is with these 2 cards. Or they just don't block it and just risk me using these cogs for even more value. And it's just very hard to do the correct thing in this situation as the opponent. So it presents very hard questions to our opponent, and it's just a 1 cost. You draw it off the top, you have a resource floating, you can just send it anytime you want. Very powerful. Then our next all-star attack is going to be Palantir Aeronaut. This attack costs 2 and comes in for 6, but has 3 times per turn instant to give itself +1 by tapping a cog. But on the 3rd time, it can destroy any defending card. And then another line of text here: the defending hero must defend this with an equipment they control if able. So this thing is just T-Bone on steroids. It just munches through your opponent's equipment. They have to defend with an equipment. You can tap 3 cogs. You can blow up the equipment. Then you can get rid of their battle worn stuff. You can get rid of their stuff that just has 0 block value, but they want to use it. Stuff like Storm Striders they might have to block with. Stuff like Plume they might have to block with. Stuff like Tekla Foundry Heart. Stuff like Phantasmal Footsteps, Dreamweavers. Just any equipment, this can just eat through it all. Stuff that they would expect to have for the whole game just goes away. But interesting to note, it doesn't say destroy a defending equipment. It says defending card. So if they block with a Blade Break equipment or some piece of equipment that you just don't really care about and another card, you can choose to actually destroy that other card to just push through more damage instead of focusing on the equipment. And you can actually destroy defending cards from previous or future chain links if this somehow has go again or you have floating action points. If they block with an equipment, like if you're against a warrior and they block with, Valiant Dynamos on your Cogger's Dovetail, and then you come into one of these, you can then blow up the Valiant Dynamos, which they'd be very unlikely to present against the actual Palantir Aeronaut itself. Or if you throw a CNC and they block 6 after this, you can actually blow up one of the cards defending the CNC and get that on hit through. Here's a tricky line that I used in the same game against the Prism, actually, where I had only 2 cogs, but you kind of threatened the 3rd cog with this unicycle. But if they block with an equipment that I don't care about, or they don't block it, then you don't actually have to commit it, and you can just make it 8 with these 2 cogs. All right, moving on to our next bread and butter attack. It's a pirate attack, kind of the poster card, the set, I would say, to conquer the high seas. It's 4 for 7, but if you pitch 2 blues, which is likely if you're pitching for 4, it's going to be +1 and go again. So a 4 for 8, go again, on hit, destroy their arsenal, and then create a gold token for each card destroyed this way. So against Rangers, if you destroy multiple cards, you can create multiple gold tokens. Powerful card. Command and Conquer, again, been around since Arcane Rising. 2 cost 6, on hit, destroy their arsenal, no defense reactions. It's one of the best disruptive pieces in the game. And then Cogwork Zeppelin. This is our rare attack from High Seas. Costs 2 attacks for 6. Has twice per turn instant to give itself +1 by tapping a cog. So if you have 2 cogs, it's a 2 for 8, which is already great value. And then when it hits, you can tap a cog to create a cog. So a lot of times that's going to be, you're going to crank that cog that you create, and this will have pseudo on hit go again. But sometimes with your hero power, if you've only cranked 1 time, this will actually have on-hit draw a card as well. So very powerful on-hits with this card, very good rate. Just another like bread and butter, great attack to send. And then all these two cost attacks are all great to send after Cogworks Dovetail. Pitch a blue, make this 7 go again. And then you got resources to come in with one of these other 3 attack, just crazy powerful attacks here. Obviously, so many 2 or greater cost attacks. We have Pummel in this deck. 3 great on hits here, and then very easy to force damage through with Palantir Aeronaut. Means that this Pummel is just insane value on any of these attacks, right? On hit, draw a card. On hit, destroy Arsenal. And then this one, even if they have the D-React, you can destroy the D-React, just force the Pummel on hit through. And it's just so many good on hits in this deck, so many 2 costs, so many blues, Tunic, Pummel. Just you draw this card, you can almost always instantly play it. And then sometimes you Arsenal it, and it's even better. So moving on from our bread and butter there, we're going to talk about our resource base for this deck. So when I was constructing the resource base for this deck, I was trying to figure out how many blues I wanted. And with stuff like Conquer the High Seas, stuff like Pummel, I decided that I want to try to aim for 2 or 3 blues every turn. And my number that I came out to, just mess around in the hypergeometric calculator a little bit, put me with 27 blues, gives you about 60% chance of either 2 or 3 blues in your hand. So I wanted to hit 27 blues. And so the first thing I did was I looked at what blue cards do I want in the deck. So the first one, obviously, Cogworks Workshop. This is a premier setup card because it allows you to create a golden cog and then keep that golden cog for an extra turn. And if you activate your hero power first, you can actually keep 2 cogs. So it allows you to activate your hero power, play this, then keep those cogs for 2 turns, and then draw a card, which is great for setup. And then with the 2 resources floating, if you pitch a blue to this, you can send a CNC, set up a good arsenal, and that's just a 3-card play with great setup, find an arsenal. This card is just very good, and it's just a blue block 3, so whatever you need it to do, this card does it all. Wanted more cog generation in the blue, so we're going to go with Goldwing Turbine. This card used to be 3 copper cogs and the 3 more copper cogs instead of these, but I wanted some more defensive value in my blues, so this is basically a copper cog that blocks for 3. This card doesn't get resolved very often. Soup Up, great card. Just a 4 block because we have a lot of cogs that aren't doing anything for us anymore after we use them. They have no steam counters. They're going to die at the start of our turn. Might as well change them into 2 block value a lot of the time. Pinion Sentry, this is an interesting one. Similar vein to Soup Up, where we're going to use this to get some value out of cogs that are going to get destroyed on our turn. And then not being able to play it isn't usually a huge deal because this deck loves pitching blues. Similar thing with Sunken Treasure. We can turn yellow cards face down. This card's very good versus Gravy to turn some of his allies in grave face down. But we also run some of our own yellow cards in case our opponent isn't kind enough to turn this on for us. Another block card, kind of the same thing as Pinion Sentry. You can get bricked if you just draw a bunch of these together, but it's not very often. Next is Cogworks Zeppelin. This card in blue is still a powerhouse. It's still a 2 for 6 in blue if you have 2 cogs, which is just insane. Still has that same on hit, and you can still pummel this. So this in blue with 2 cogs plus a pummel still becomes 4 cost 10. So still Guardian, still crazy Guardian numbers. On hit, go again still. This card is just very central to the deck. And then to get us up to 27 blues, you might think we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's 18. We need 9 more blues. So we included only 8 copper cogs. There's 1 more blue we'll talk about later. Some of you might know what it is. But yeah, 8 copper cogs. This card is just, you can run as many of them as you want in your deck. And it has crank, and it has 2 steam counters. So you play this, it'll last, it's a cog, it'll last for 2 turns. Get you halfway towards drawing a card. It's more blues in the deck. It doesn't block, but most of the time when you draw one, wanting to block with it is the last thing you want to do. move on to some of the tech cards, some of the non-attack, some of the glue cards we have in the deck. The first one is going to be this Swiftwater Sloop. This is just tech if we want more aggression. 2 for 6, go again. We have a lot of blues, and then this is kind of the combo with Tecloplasma Pistol that I was alluding to earlier. Excuse me, where you can pitch your blue to load the Tecloplasma Pistol, and then actually just burn a resource for nothing by loading Tecloplasma Pistol again. And then with the one floating, you can then pitch a blue to have 2 blues in your pitch zone and actually start your turn off with a Swiftwater Sloop for 6 go again. Or you can just pitch a blue, send this for 6 go again, and then in reactions, throw a pummel on it, pitch another blue, it'll actually gain the go again, 10 go again. Pretty good there. Next is Jolly Bludger. This is a sideboard card mainly against other decks that want to use items, where you just give overpower, steal their items, stealing boom grenades and stuff from Dash.io, very funny, stealing gold, and golden rum and amulets from other pirates is pretty good, stealing potions from wizards, very good. Just a lot of cool interactions you can have with this card. And it's a yellow, so like I said, it turns on our Sunken Treasures when we bring it in. Golden Skywarden. I was initially pretty low on this card, but has some very powerful effects. Say this Galvanize effect is weight defense. You can destroy an item. It gets +1 block. If it's a golden cog, create a gold and repeat the process. So if you have 3 golden cogs, this will block for 5, create 3 golds. And that 3 golds is really the big thing. Like that just fuels that's so much gas on your deck. It just lets you keep going. You get one of these off in the game on defense, you feel pretty good. And then also it's just a 7 power popper. Very good against Prism. And another yellow that turns on our Sunken Treasure. So these are a little bit of a main board card here, but it's a tech card because you really never, this 7 down here is kind of fake. It feels pretty bad if you're shipping one of these onto the offense. Cogging Machine, really good card. Very strong cog generation. Great for turn 0. You can just play it and you just don't crank them, and then you just have 2 cogs for your first real turn of the game. And it has this built-in anti-fatigue where you can tap a cog to put this back to the bottom and recur it to do it again later. And this is just going to draw you a card and create an action point if you crank both of them. So that's how you can get some of those lines where you send Palantir Aeronaut and then blow up a future defending card. This is it. Also kind of necessary against Prism with stuff like Light Sentinel to get around that. And then Loan Shark. This is only a 2 of in the deck, but as I've been talking about, having gold, is the fuel for the deck. And you need it to keep the deck going, to keep your aggression going. And a card like this is just create 2 gold tokens, and the rest of this text just kind of doesn't apply to us. We're not creating gold tokens consistently. We're just saying, we're playing this card and we're saying 2 gold tokens is worth 2 life. So I'll make my 2 gold tokens, I'll lose my 2 life, and I'll be happy about that trade. And then another yellow for our graveyard, again for Sunken Treasure. And then our red item here, Backup Protocol Red. This is just a strong item. It has crank, it helps turn on our hero power, and it lets us recur some of our most powerful cards. Like sending 4 Palantirs in a game against somebody just takes all 4 pieces of their equipment sometimes. Can just be absolutely brutal. And then last, we got some defense reactions. So we have the full 3 of both these. We got 6 total defense reactions. And sometimes, 0 for 4s on defense, or just 0 for 4s on defense. Some matchups you just need them, and they're here for us. And moving on, we'll talk about 2 of the more contentious cards in the deck. We've got Riches of Tropodani and Eye of Ophidia. Like I said, this is our 27th blue right here. And this is just gold generation. These cards are very powerful. Very, very powerful cards. Just creating a gold on pitch, like we said, how much we love the feel for our deck. And then in a deck that draws so many cards, being able to at least a little bit control what card we're going to draw is extremely powerful. But unless you play this deck at the highest level of competitive play, These cards are not required. You can just put another golden cog in, and you can just put another loan shark in, and you won't feel the difference you'll feel the difference 1 out of 10 games maybe, but it is a little bit of a difference in those 1 out of 10 games. So if you're a high level competitive player, you're trying to bring this deck to Worlds or the PT, you should look into these. But if you're just trying to sleeve this deck up and bring it to Armory, you don't already have these, not required. Don't go spend $500-$600 on an Iowa Ophidia and $300-$400 on a Richard the Tropodani for your Armory deck. So moving on, we're going to talk about some of the pros and cons of this deck. So the number one pro for me, this deck is fun. It's so fun to just be spitting out items, tapping them, throwing pummels, throwing CNCs. For me, it's not fun for the opponent when all that stuff happens, but it's a very fun deck, and has some decent matchups right now. Has a pretty decent Syndra matchup, has a very good Prism matchup. It just comes down to what you're looking for in a deck. I would consider this, you could call it mid-range, but it's very aggressive. You don't want to be blocking with more than one card with usually more than one card, sometimes 2 cards per turn. And it can throw crazy damage, evasive damage, and just cause your opponents to make mistakes. That's one of the coolest parts about the deck, is that it gives a lot of room for your opponents to make a mistake on defense, especially with stuff like Cockroach Ducktail. Some of the cons of this deck, it can struggle to draw the right cards. Like I said, there's really 2 halves of this deck, which is the half that makes the cogs and the half that uses the cogs. And if you draw a hand that's all one or the other, it can be pretty sad. Right now, High Seas is a little bit hard to get your hands on, and almost all these cards are from High Seas, so that can be a pretty big con. But the second wave is coming soon, so I believe that con will be going away, and then the cards will be pretty easy to get. This deck is very fun. Moving on, we'll do just a quick run through of some of the popular matchups right now. I just went on to the tracker of what decks were winning Nats and which decks were top 8ing Nats, and I just put the top ones in here. So the first one going to be Gravy Bones, our Pirate Necromancer, kind of maybe the boogeyman for some people right now. So the first thing we're going to talk about this matchup is Balance of Justice versus Crown of Dominion. So the biggest problem with Crown of Dominion in this matchup is going to be this gold-baited hook. If they go first, you can sometimes draw a hand, just all non-blocks, and they can just go like Golden Tipple, make a gold, and then activate gold-baited hook, and like swing a Rigor Mortis or something, and then you lose, they steal your gold. And then your Crown of Dominion did literally nothing. So it's very risky to run Crown of Dominion in this matchup. And they do also draw a lot of cards. So most of the time, you'll get multiple chances per game to activate the power on this Balance of Justice. So we're going to bring Balance of Justice in this matchup. Even though we do like the fuel, and this is a matchup, like you said, the normal choice of Gravy Bones, allies, or face. In this matchup, we do want to be aggressive, which means we would love to have that gold token. It's just a little bit too risky. So for these allies, we're going to kill the most valuable ones, which is pretty much just Sawbones. And then maybe Chowder, but I don't think that many people are even running Chowder. We're going to even kind of ignore Chum with this deck, because a lot of times we're going to be sending an attack, and then if they activate Chum in response, that attack will still go through. And then we can most of the time just be able to have a setup, play a cog, set up a backup protocol, load up our pistol, and then just pass with a good arsenal. And then if they activate a Chum, they're not going to be able to attack with him come their turn, and that's just less damage coming our way. When it comes to that, we just want to throw as much damage as them. That's kind of one of the reasons why this card is in the deck. It just creates bigger turns. And against Gravy Bones, we want to have the biggest turns that we possibly can. Moving on to Syndra. So Syndra kind of rise in popularity, mainly to go against Gravy Bones, but we don't want to let them draw that many cards. Usually they should only be able to draw 1 or 2 against us for the entire game. And most of the time, when we let them draw with mass momentum, it's because we're going to hit them with something very nasty on our turn. Usually pummel, CNC, Palantir, conquer the high seas into like CNC. Just so much disruption that they make it to draw a card. Sometimes you let them draw a card so that they can have an arsenal for you to attack with CNC. That's another thing you can do. And we're just going to play powerful 3-card hands. Like I said, with Cogworks Dovetail into Palantir Aeronaut, it just allows us to pitch a blue, attack for 7, attack for 9, just 3-card 16 that we can put together sometimes. And then with our hero power, we're just pushing card advantage against them because we can block out their mask with 1 or 2 cards usually, and then we can come back and we can draw back one of those cards and just keep pushing card advantage against them. And then eventually we'll have a huge turn where we kind of turn the tide with pummels and CNCs or something like that. And then they're not going to be able to recover, and we'll be able to kill them. Palantir, notably, you can just send this with no cogs because most of their stuff has a blade break, so you're going to just eat equipment anyways with this. Focus on disruption above damage. Like I said, if you have the choice between like sending a dovetail and then sending a Palantir, or sending a Palantir with a pummel on top of it and arsenaling the dovetail, you probably want to take the line with the pummel because every card you take away from Syndra makes it that much easier to stop mask and that much harder for them to swing back real damage. We have Shelter from the Storm, pretty good in this matchup. Big blowout. Just want to talk about that. Main reason it's in here. So you're going to take out your sloops and put in Shelter of the Storms for this matchup. Arachnes, the 2 of them. We have 60 reacts, and they're gonna disrupt us. Our 3-card hands are strong. We're gonna push damage, and you don't want to like put red attacks in Arsenal because then you just get blown out by like Leave No Witnesses and stuff like that. So just get your D-reacts in there, get your copper cogs in there, and just play a value game against them. They can push some damage. These D-reacts will help, and eventually, you wear them down and kill them with Palantir. Prism. This is a great matchup for us. We have so many poppers. So many of them are 7 power, and we can lose a 6 power attack. Unlike the Uzuri problem, where Uzuri would lose the popper and then kind of have a nothing turn, we can lose a 6 power attack and still do crazy stuff. Just a quick little note. Footsteps blocks if it defends a 6 power attack. So if Palantir forces them to block with Phantasmal Footsteps, you can send it without any cogs. It's actually a play I made on stream for the AGE event. It just takes out their footsteps, and once their footsteps are gone, you win the game. It's over because you just pop, and that's it. Then they pass, and then it comes back, and you attack them with your 3-4 card hands. Cogging Machine is your best way around. Light Sentinel. You kind of just need to draw it at the right times, but you have so much tempo in this matchup that like they slam ALS, you just like shoot it with Tecloplasma Pistol, pass, they attack you with the Herald, you pop, game continues as it was before. It doesn't really do anything. That one interaction with Halo and Poly that we talked about, so just wait till they just blow Halo on something else and then use Poly however much you want. Moving on to Verdantage, Jolly Bludger can steal their healing pots, and then it's very hard for them to like full fatigue us, and we're presenting strong value even if we have to AB or block a little bit, and even through like felling, they take a card and swing 8, but we can still swing back much more than 8 off of 3 cards. And a lot of our damage is very difficult to block, especially like Palantir and Pummel and stuff like that. So we can usually just kind of race them down, stay out of that Storm Strider's threshold, and just present good value against them. We got AB3. We're going to keep the Unicycle here with the Adaptive Dissolver in our arm slot. And then Dash.io, the last thing we'll talk about, because it seems to be actually rising and actually winning a good number of nats. Jolly Bludger is really fun to steal their items. Like having stuff like Boom Grenade and Cerebellum Processor is always really fun to have because there's not really the room for us to run those in the list, but they are really good if we get them from Dash.io. And then Balancer Crown. This one's more of a personal decision. You'll see in my game on stream against Dash.io, I actually ran the Balance of Justice, and it was insanely valuable. Pretty much won me the game. But they can play around it if their deck lets them to a degree. Like they can just draw 1 card per turn. They can not grab Processor off of Spark, just grab something else. Use their Processors 1 per turn. Stuff like that. They can play around it, and this can kind of just be a 2 block, which is why this is pretty good, because this is a racing matchup, so you do just want to have that extra gas. So kind of just feel out your opponent, you know, heart of the cards, pick one of these. It's really personal choice. And then same thing as Syndra, the less cards Dash.io has, the better. So if there's a line where you could pummel CNC, or you could do like a dovetail CNC, you want to like focus on the pummel line, just reduce their cards as much as possible while also getting damage across. That's it for the matchups from Nats. If there's any other matchups you want to talk about, like I said in my other video, you can leave a comment. I'll be able to respond to that. You can come into our Discord, ask me questions personally. The Righteous Gaming Discord is very awesome. There's a lot of deals from Tyler in there. There's a lot of knowledgeable players that will talk to you and help you through anything you want to talk about in there, for not even just, you know, Puffin or just any hero you want to talk about. We got people in there that are willing to answer your questions. Like I said, sometimes Tyler posts some of his recent deals in there, and you can get a good deal before everybody else. Thanks for watching the video. The Fabre link with the full sideboard guide, it's a pretty simple sideboard. That's another cool thing about the deck. It's going to be in the description. Remember, if you liked the video, go ahead and drop a like, leave a comment, tell me what you liked about it, tell me what you didn't like, tell me what I could do better, or what you want to see next. We got the Righteous Gaming, the channel, we're starting to get up. You know, we got plenty of videos on here right now. We got deck techs, we got you know, stuff to level up your content if you're already a strong player, or just stuff to show your to a new player, help them learn the basics of the game. Like I said, make sure you join the Discord. We'll have a link in the description for that. And I just want to say thanks to AGE for it's just an amazing event that they put on every single time. I love going to these things in New England. I love watching the Los Angeles games. And if you have never heard about them, you know, you're missing out. You miss out on crazy good games, really good coverage. Just monthly for that, 2 per month, 1 in New England, 1 in Los Angeles. Sometimes they coincide and there's only 1 stream, but you do not want to be missing out on these AG events. And if you want to see this deck in action, I was on stream 2 times on the most recent AG in New England. You can go watch the VOD, see some of these matchups, see this deck in action. And yeah, thanks for watching again. I really appreciate it.